Well, holy fuck, we're going through it again. Unbelievable. I feel like the lightning is actually out to get me. I mean, maybe it's just post-traumatic stress disorder from being struck on the fucking head. Last time I had a storm like this, the lightning is behaving almost identically. I'll probably lose all power again shortly with the next strike, but it feels like it's actually after me. I mean, yeah, hello? Conspiracy nut or what? I'm afraid. I'm actually afraid. I'm just out there, I'm going back out again. It's intense. I think I'm over the worst of it. I'm not intense anymore now, I'm under tarp. This is the one that struck me on the head. I've got to be bloody careful, mate. Bloody careful. I think I might have got away with it this time. Mate. These storms around here, they are super over top. Super intense, man. They like had me shitting my pants and everything. Like, I can take shit, you know. I fucking hammered my hand again on that sore spot right there with the fucking hammer. Not just any old hammer, a freaking mini sledgehammer this time. Lost count how many times I hit it with the big sledgehammer. And it hurts. Fucking hurts. But none of it compares to getting struck through this fucking tarp on the top of my head by fucking lightning. It hurts. That hurts. But it's not going to give me a headache for a week. It'll give me a handache for a day or two and I'll be fine. You know, I'm a quick healer. You get smacked on the head by one of them bolts of frickin' lightning, you know about it. Alright, close your eyes. Getting naked again. What else can you do in a big storm like this? As I say, I hit my bloody hand with the mini sledgehammer because I was just trying to put in some pickets around the garden with a bit of shade cloth so that I can give the plants some shade, because the heat this afternoon was so intense. It was ridiculously hot, and so as soon as the storm come over, of course, it was like, oh, finally I can go out and do some yard work. Yeah, like 10 minutes worth or 15 minutes worth, because once the storm hits, mate, it's all over. So it goes from intensely hot to freaking tropical storm, fucking aching hand, but I'd much rather that than fucking aching head I got last time. See right there? All that water dripping right there. That's where I was standing with the stainless steel bucket collecting that water to throw into this hot tub. Because why would you waste good rainwater when you can refresh your hot tub with beautiful fresh water from the sky? And I got bloody knocked to the ground through the top of my scone by a major bolt of lightning, and I still don't think I've 100% recovered. I reckon I'm 90%, but I don't know what's happened internally. Whatever happened internally. You know, they say like a practicing Zen master, or someone who's on the path to becoming a Zen master, someone at one with everything. Part of the process quite often is to pay another monk or master or somebody, you know, whatever they pay in Buddhist dollars, Chinese rupee, yeah, yen, Japan, whatever the fuck they don't matter. Money. You pay them something of value. in advance to sneak up on you at the least opportune time when you least expect it. Like, you might be fast asleep, you might be out in the garden, or you might be meditating under a tree, whatever the case might be. The purpose of the fee is to pay somebody to come along with a big stick and whack you on top of the head, fucking hard, so it hurts like a bitch, when you least expect it, because this is part of the whole Zen process of reaching enlightenment, is to be able to deal with shit like that in the moment and not lose your shit. So when it did happen to me, I was filling up a bucket to fill up this hot tub. It's got heaps of floating shit in it now, thanks to the big storm that came raging through. It's mellowed out heaps now, thank goodness. So what did I do when it knocked me down to the ground? Filling up a bucket to fill up the tub. I just got back up and kept filling the bucket because it wasn't quite full. Poured it in the tub, and then I filled up another one. And then I started thinking, holy shit, that tastes like some pasta. And I think that's part of the key of the process. If you want to reach enlightenment, you're going to get smacked down a lot. And it depends on how you deal with it as to whether or not you'll reach enlightenment. And it's very unenlightenment to create a phrase to brag about being enlightened. You know, the enlightened one is usually the most humble one. In the crowded situation, you'll be the quiet one. I'm scared when I see those flashes of lightning. I honestly do, mate. Post-traumatic stress syndrome. Once you've been whacked on the head by lightning once, you do not want it to happen again. I'm shell-shocked. Anyway, where was I? The most enlightened one in any situation is the one who's going to be sitting there quietly and keeping their mouth closed. It's another, pretty much a Zen Buddhist saying as well, is that he who knows does not speak. He who does not know speaks, which is our way of saying the empty vessel makes the most noise. So of course, if I was to speak of enlightenment, then clearly I'm not enlightened. And that is the catch-22 of the situation. How do you speak of it? How do you explain it to other people? Well, you don't. You can't. I've learnt that long ago. I hit enlightenment 50% of my life ago, actually. It was the day before my 26th birthday. And I'm just sitting in my lounge room, had my young daughter on the couch by my side. She was about a year and a half. Her birthday's in August, so almost 2. One's in June, so it was the day before my birthday, because my birthday is actually the winter solstice here. So the true birthday is the winter solstice, but by the calendar date, on the year I was born, was the 22nd, and this year this happened on the 21st. And something really strange happened. But yeah, as I say, we're just sitting there. That's what we did. Her mother was off working in the nursing home at the time. Actually, no, on that particular day, she wasn't working. Her and the neighbour from across the road went out shopping because it was my birthday the following day, so she went out birthday gift shopping. So I was sitting at home with my daughter, young Jessica. She barely even spoke. She didn't even speak. She didn't even start. She started going to daycare just after she turned 2, because that's when we took over the pet store business. And within a week, she was home speaking in full sentences. So it was all in there. She just didn't speak. We really didn't need to communicate because we had this telepathic communication thing happening. So if she needed something done, I was like, oh, just did it. We didn't have to speak. Anyway, this is the sort of relationship we had, sitting on the couch. But all of a sudden I felt this sense of urgency, like something big is about to happen. Something big, like I couldn't work it out. And it made me a bit restless. I got up and I walked down the end of the house. It was a modest 3-bedroom house, and the far end bedroom was just a storage room at that stage. Had a bookshelf with all my books and stuff on it. Jessica's bedroom was on the left as you went down the hallway. My ex and my bedroom was on the left corner as you walk down, so that's opposite the spare room, and so the hallway basically went straight down into the spare room. The other 2 doors are off to the side. So I paced the house. I went down, I walked back. Something kept calling me back again, so I walked back, and so I said, there's something happening in one of these books here. And so I had to, obviously, I don't know if you've ever done it, you walk into a bookstore or a library and a certain book is just speaking to you. You can't help yourself. You have to pick it up, you have to pull it out, and you have to open it, because right there, exactly there in your face, is a message. Something that you have to read immediately. Your higher self, your angels, whatever you think is guiding you to that, you have to do it. You are compelled to do it. You can't not do it. And so after pacing the house a couple of times, I just walked and I grabbed this book, and it's one I'd read before. It was a very interesting book. It's called Thief in the Night. Can't exactly remember the author off the top of my head right now, but basically it was about saying that Christ would come as a thief in the night. And one of the chapters in it obviously was, imagine seeing headlines in a newspaper. What would be the biggest headline that you could imagine? And of course, I opened up the book to that exact page, and those exact words in bold capital letters that you could not miss says, "The Christ returns." I've told people about this subsequently, and they said, oh no, Princess Diana dying was bigger news than Christ returning. Maybe so. But if the Christ actually returned, back in the day when we were still getting our news from the newspapers, I'm pretty sure that would have been the biggest headlines ever. And that's what the author was basically communicating. And yet that's exactly what I opened up to and read, "The Christ returns." I put the book back down, I walked back down and sat next to my daughter, and all of a sudden something bizarre happened. I had this major out-of-body experience. You can't explain it in words because I don't remember. That's the thing, you don't remember exactly what happened. All you know is, like, you're instantaneously back in your body, but you feel like you've been away for like thousands of years, a very, very long time, but suddenly you're back in your body as though no time has happened. And the very first thing I said was, I sort of laughed and looked and took them off. Oh, I wear glasses now, because I wore glasses back then, I still do. I'm just not wearing them now because no need to. And immediately surrounding me outside, all the birds started singing and chirping and carrying on and having this most beautiful chorus. And it wasn't just the birds. It was like, I've read this sense of saying, "and every living thing rejoiced." That's what it felt. It was overwhelming. It was so much for me. I couldn't take it. I had every emotion running through me at once. And to my chagrin, demise, whatever it was, I suddenly got it into my head for one reason or another, because I didn't realise it was just telling me that we're going to later divorce and it's going to be horrible. I had it in my head that my partner and his friend she was with, both with the same name, that they got into an accident and she was killed, and that was a message telling me she was taken away from me. Because this friend, she had a spiritual reading, like people do in this area. They have a lot of spiritual readings, or karma or soul sort of readings and shit. And this friend, it turns out, the psychic person couldn't pick up anything. She said it's like you don't even exist, but you don't have a soul. I know, right? Imagine being told that. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, so she's come to take my partner away, and it made me quite upset, to be honest. I got really angry and I punched the cupboard and regretted it. It really bloody hurts when you punch a cupboard that can't be broken. I've done that a few times and broken my hand a few times, but yeah, because I had every emotion going through me, I really started to panic, thinking, holy shit, my wife's been taken away from me. And turns out that wasn't the case at the time, and we didn't have mobile phones back then, so it's not like I could just ring her and check up, oh, are you okay? I just had a weird feeling or anything like that. No, this was very real to me. But what was more real was the out-of-body experience. Because what happened is something massive changed within me. And I'd always been gutless to, I've always sort of been a bit, egotistical about my hair. I've got pretty good hair and all that sort of stuff. And couldn't imagine people, because they're going bald, they got to shave it off and ha-ha. But it was a bit of a trend at the time to be shaving the head and all the rest. And anyway, I just had the urge to go and shave my head. And it was the most difficult thing I'd ever done at the time, like to shave your head when, a lot of your ego surrounds your looks. I say as I keep brushing my moustache out of my face. But it is, who you are and how you look, it's a big part of your ego. I hope I get struck by that again. So I sort of left my daughter watching her favourite VHS movie, which was called Napoleon at the time. It's about a Labrador puppy in Australia who goes off to join the wild dogs. It's a great movie. I love it. And she loved it. She could sit and watch it 2 or 3 times a day, so I got a bit sick of watching it. So anyway, I go into the bathroom and I got the hair clippers, and eventually, took a while, eventually built up the courage because I felt I had to just, and I shaved my head off bald. And after a little while I called my daughter, I said, Jessie, and so she comes running, lovely, sweetest, most beautiful child you can imagine. She comes running and she takes one look at me and doesn't recognise me, because I also had a big goatee at the time, and all that came off as well. It's part of cleansing your ego, I think, just to remove all your hair. And she looked at me and she burst into tears and freaked out and ran off, and I could hear her crying out in the lounge room, and I felt so bad for her. I went, oh no, what have I done? And so I sort of let it settle for a few minutes. I said, Jess, it's okay, it's just me, it's Dad, come and see me. And then she'd come and see me, and she did the same thing, freaked out again. Like, I thought, oh my gosh. I put the poor little girl in such torment. Like, she could not handle seeing her dad the way that Dad doesn't look. It was a bit like the first time, I suppose, I saw my dad in the hospital. You know, he broke his leg when I was 5 and ended up losing it as a result of this accident. Happened on the farm he worked at, and he'd grown a beard in all that time. He was in hospital for nearly a year, and his traction and all this sort of stuff. So when we went and visited him, I didn't recognise him at all. He was a stranger man with a beard. At that age, you just freak out. You know, you're used to the familiar look of somebody that you know and love and know what they look like. At that age, you just freak out. So, yeah, my poor little girl felt so bad for her. At least when her mother got home, eventually she was able to come to terms with the fact that Dad now looks shaved and bald and nothing like Dad normally looks. But she could at least recognise my voice. Yeah, that was the one thing. She'd come running. She'd hear my voice. Oh, thank God, it's Dad back again. And then see me and just going as mad. Oh, poor thing. So terrible. Anyway, I could talk and talk and talk about that sort of stuff. But the thing is, something changed in me. And I even said that to my wife at the time. I said, I felt so enlightened from that experience that I almost went to the point where I was going to take a vow of silence. Like, I've never been a colour conscious person. I just put on whatever clothes, whatever's there. You know, if it's clean, out the cupboard, whatever, does it match my pants? I wouldn't know. I've never been colour conscious, but for the first time in my life, I started becoming conscious of the colour I was wearing. I wasn't myself anymore. In fact, I've always been left-handed, and for quite a period of time then, I became right-handed. Not for writing, but for just about everything else. One of the very first things I did was actually I walked out to my garage and found my bong, and I just emptied out the water and put it in the cupboard and said, oh, I won't be needing that anymore. It had served its purpose. It was medicinal for me. I no longer needed it. It was weird. So I can speak of the experience of enlightenment at that stage of my life with far greater clarity, because that was genuine, true enlightenment. What happened to me being smacked on the head by lightning? Not even close. I haven't even come close to being back to the person I was back then. Now, how good would it have been if I had video camera back then, so I could leave myself a message here and now? Well, it didn't happen. I still have to wing it. I still have to live from day to day. But all I can say is, when you reach that period of peak enlightenment, it is the most joyful, blissful, pleasant experience you can imagine. I'd never been able to meditate in my life. I'd tried a few times, I just couldn't do it. But after it happened, every day I could easily just go and sit outside in my backyard, lean up against the tree, or we had a bird aviary, a bit like a shed type of thing, something like that, and just sit there and go into blissful meditation for at least half an hour, sometimes a whole hour. It was amazing. It only lasted for 2 weeks, unfortunately, because I still had to work, still had to go and pay the bills and all the usual sort of stuff, and it just turned out that my workmate, who was always a bit of a dick, decided to be an extra bit of a dick on one particular day and got me angry. Okay. He told the staff, you don't have to put the chairs up on the tables anymore on days where it's not overly busy, which is fine. But I was the one that cleaned the area. And because I cleaned the area, well, I missed a few bits and pieces of stuff because they were hidden under the chairs that were normally put up on the tables every night. And so he comes out, and he could see it, and he starts getting angry, and he starts throwing the chairs around the room. Can't you fucking move a chair, and all this sort of shit. And I was like, that's not my job to move chairs. My job is to clean the areas that are kept clear for me to clean. And he went off at me, and so I started losing my shit, you know, inside my head, because I was still highly, highly up there, but I could feel, as the anger seeped through me, I could feel this enlightenment feeling just slipping away from me. And I said many things in my head, like, how dare he talk to me like that? Who does he think he is? Blah, blah, blah. I said a lot of things in my head out loud. Now get this. The very next morning, when I'm at work, going back to things, he comes and gets me and says, come and have a look at this. Because he cleaned the front toilets in this particular hotel. And all over the women's bathroom walls in big black marker was word for word the things that I was saying in my head. How dare he say this? Who does he think he is? All that. All over the bathroom walls. On tiles, so it could be cleaned off with method or whatever, but it was word for word the things that I was actually saying out loud inside my head. And there was one extra message that said somebody needs to shut this guy up so we can sleep, because we started cleaning at 4 in the morning, so this was probably between 4 and 7 anyway. And so my thoughts were keeping somebody awake in such a vehement manner that she felt obliged to leave the message all over the toilet wall so that it could not be mistaken. Anyway, the morning where I did lose my shit and was saying all those things, and I knew it had slipped away, I went back down to a sacred place, a headland that means a lot to me, and I bathed in the natural spring. As fresh water comes down the mountains where it meets the ocean, and you've got a little tiny waterfall. Went and bathed and all that and tried to wash all the dirt off me and everything, but I knew that that moment of enlightenment, or that time of enlightenment I had for just 2 weeks, was born. I've had glimpses of it, but that 2-week period was just, you can't explain it. The only way you can explain it is to experience it, to feel the absolute bliss. Like I had no compunction, no desire whatsoever to want to eat anything of animal flesh whatsoever. As a child, I used to like watermelon, but once I gorged on it so much, I vomited. I could never eat watermelon again. I hated it. But the smell of it made me sick. But during this 2-week period, when we went out to lunch at a vegan cafe one time, they sort of gave a dessert plate with a slice of watermelon on it, and I had a taste of it, and it was the most delicious thing I'd ever eaten. Things that I couldn't stand anymore, I loved. It had completely transformed me. I no longer eat watermelon, by the way, but for that period of time I was cured. And during that period of time we had this festival in the streets of Byron. They call it the Taste of Byron. I think it's the first or second year of it, so it's a pretty new sort of thing where they just close off one of the streets to allow all the different restaurants and caterers and all that to open up a stall and put out some food so you can try it all. You can have a sample of it, see what it's all like, like $5 plates or whatever. You can buy a $10 plate, so you only went to one or two and picked what you like. And yeah, really good. But meanwhile, they had some entertainment. Now there's this one guy. He was good. He was really good. I'd seen him around on the streets before. He's one of those ones, you call him like a mime, but they mime a statue. So they look like a statue and they just do a pose. And they're painted all in silver, wear silver clothing and stuff. So they look like a metallic statue. And then they're standing there for a minute, and then a little kid comes past and moves, and then they go and change into another pose. And so the kid goes, oh, wow, because it's like the statue moves, but he turns back into a statue again. And the kids would try and do stuff and make him move or do whatever, and he would never break character. He was super good at what he did, really, really good, and quite funny, so he had a big crowd standing around him. And so I decided to have a little bit of fun because I was enlightened. and wearing my lovely white hemp shirt. It was a beautiful white thing because I was into colour at the time. Had to be wearing white. And I stood back a little bit from the crowd and I looked at him and I put my big smile on because I'm always happy. And so what I did was a little bit unfair to the guy because I was watching him, and after a couple of minutes I thought, I'm just going to do a little experiment here. A little bit naughty, but it was okay. And this is true. This is a true story. I looked at him and I decided to focus. And I thought, I am going to make him break character. Nobody could ever do it. He was a professional. He was very, very good. But I knew I could do it. And so I did. And I just sort of silently, as I'm smiling at him, beaming, saying, I call upon the angel of laughter. I call upon the angel of laughter to come and affect him. And in less than a minute, he broke into laughter, broke character, and had to take a break. It was like, wow, it works. It works. Angels are real. You don't have to believe, you just have to know. Belief is nothing. Belief is, well, be alive is to believe. It's the origins of believe. So if you can imagine something, you can make it be alive. But when you know something, you're a knower. You're a Gnostic. So you're not just making it be alive, you are making it real. And you can call upon the angel of laughter to even make a professional statue break character. I think I'll just leave you with that because it doesn't look like I'm going to get struck with lightning. I just thought I'd film it just in case it happened again. Stay good. The world is a beautiful place. Stationary, planar earth. The flat earth we live upon is beautiful. And you are loved beyond imagination.